So with this is a new topic for me. And so I, in my true fashion of who I am, because I wanted to learn and be able to answer any of your questions, I created this PowerPoint. They had one from 2020, from the last time they were all due for everyone, the 5 years. And I used that as a baseline, but then I got into the regs, and I used the regs to build my PowerPoint. Therein lies the rub. So I came upon some, let's say, discrepancies between how we're doing things in the public housing portal and what's actually in the regs. So my upfront to you is just use the portal. As of right now, that's what they want us to use. I mean, you have to use it, and it kind of does everything for you. Now, in my opinion, it's not having you do everything that you're maybe supposed to do exactly, but that's not your fault. That's our fault. So just do what it has you do. And it should, if you haven't done it yet, it should be super easy, actually. And so the PowerPoint, we're going to blow through a little bit, and you'll have the references so you can go back to it later. I did reach out weeks ago to the policy team and ask these questions that I have identified as discrepancies, and I don't have any answers. So it usually takes them like 8 months to a year to answer me when I throw legal questions at them like, what about this? So you just have to, like I said, just go with what's in the portal. We'll go over that. I'll tell you how the regs read so that you at least know and understand that. But the portal is really actually pretty easy. And so if you're doing what's in there, it should be pretty straightforward. Okay. That's not the right button. Okay, so these are the objectives. We're going to go over what is a PHA plan, what's in the requirements, and what are the different categories for annual plan submissions. Also, what are the different certifications and other requirements for submission when you're doing either the 5-year plan or the annual plan. We're going to go over the different categories and what the schedules are for how often you have to do these things. And there was a checklist that they had put together, which I thought was not helpful. So I put together mine, again, based on the regs, which may or may not be helpful because they're having you do less. So, but review the plan submission timeline. So we have a generic timeline built in for each fiscal year start. And then we'll briefly discuss on our end what it looks like from the field office for you guys. And I was going to mention too, HUD does really bad with language. Do we know this? I mean, 5-year plan, annual plan, 5-year action plan, like.
Yeah, it's like, so then what's the difference?
Exactly. So the 5-year plan is like the overall, this is what you're going to do, and it's actually a pretty short document. You have a brief submission, your mission, your board reviews it. It has just the basic information to make sure that you're in compliance with what the state wants you to do, and or your local authority, what's expected of you. And then you submit it, and that's your plan for the next 5 years. But it's not a plan like the way the 5-year action plan is, right? The 5-year action plan is, this is exactly how we intend to spend our money. And with that, you can flow with that each year. If you're like, oh, well, this year we had a tornado and it took roofs off. So now we're going to, instead of replacing the HVACs, we're going to do some repairs here, and then now we'll move that money to next year. And, you can play around with that in those action plans. This is more of just a kind of general overall view of what the PHA is and what you're doing and what your plans are. And I would imagine, I would imagine they're pretty consistent even every 5 years. Like, I don't see any time that there would be major sweeping changes unless you're going through RAD or some of these different programs. That would be the only time I think that something might change in that for you.
So, quick question.
Yes.
I haven't been there 5 years.
Okay.
How do I know when the last time the 5-year plan was done?
So that's a great.
I asked that question in that an email.
Yes.
And I was told that I had to ask my field rep.
Right. So this is what I can tell you. There should be a record somewhere, but the portal didn't exist, right? Now going forward, if they maintain the portal, which I really like the portal. I don't know about you guys, but compared to some other systems we've put together, like I actually do really like this one. The other thing that I like more about the portal, or have liked, we'll see what happens, but is that it's internally built. We're not relying on contractors. So for PIC, when it's dying or EIV needs modernization, we have to enter into contracts with external sources. This is all done internally from HUD. And so they have the ability to add things and change things. And you know, as we need new things, they can do that. And so that's what I really like about the public housing portal. So as you get in there and start playing with it, hopefully you see some of that. It is pretty streamlined and pretty easy to work with. But the 5-year plans, nationwide, we should all pretty much be on the same schedule. So they last should have been done starting, the fiscal year starting January 1 of 2020 is when the first group should have been done last time. And then each quarter throughout 2020 should have been done with that, right? So it would have, they actually would have started based on the timeline in 24,
So
or in 19 then.
September, then it would be due.
Yeah, and we'll go over that timeline. So if you're in that position where you haven't started yet, you know, you'll just have to get on it, and because there are timeline requirements of, you know, how early it's supposed to be done before the start of your fiscal year. If you don't make that, I mean, you don't make that, but that's what it's supposed to be. And you're supposed to have it posted publicly for a period as well. And so that's why the timeline becomes so specific. This actually, we probably should have done this maybe in the fall, Naro, you know, or maybe even last spring, since it was starting this last January. Because at this point, at least half of the PHAs, you know, the first 2 fiscal should be done. The January ones and the April ones should be done. And the next group, the July ones, should be pretty well in progress, right? So, yes.
Ours wasn't due yet, but my HUD person told me that because we were going to the portal, I had to do it.
And see, I don't, do you know about that if they did it late before or something? Because from everything I've seen, when they went into starting them, it was all in a given year. So nationwide, it should all have been 2020, and then 2025, and then it'll be 2030 next time. And so if you were late doing it, I would assume that they would want you to get back on schedule. So like if it's only been,
5-year schedule.
yeah, so,
25, 30.
yeah.
I couldn't find when she had done it before.
And that's been a problem. That has been a problem. And so hopefully the portal helps to solve that problem. Because if you don't have records at your PHA, and if the field office can't help you, yeah, if you don't know what it is, exactly right.
Carol was a good record keeper, I just don't know where she put it.
Exactly, yeah. And so, and if she was a good record, she probably did it on time, but, you know, who knows? So yeah, I would definitely just do it this year. Exactly. So the things we're going to talk about, every PHA submits in 2025 a 5-year plan and an annual plan. What that means is going to be different based on what your status is. The annual plan may look a little bit different for each PHA. So this is going to be separate from EPIC. Now you might take your annual plan and submit it in EPIC, right? But you have to submit it in the portal. And actually it's best if you digitally do it through the portal. It's easiest, I would say, for most people. Although you can do it as an attachment, you just have to make sure you do it the right way. And that's part of using the proper form. Using the portal will ensure that you're using the proper form. Remember your attachments if you have any. And again, the system is going to do that for you. It's going to manage that for you. If you don't have what you need in there, in general, it should kick it back to you, and you should know before you even try to submit it. If it doesn't, then we'll kick it back to you. And then you just, by the button, push it through to us at the field office level. Okay, so basically the PHA plan is, like I said, it's a comprehensive guide to what your policies are, your programs, what your operating strategies are, and how you are attempting to meet local housing needs in your community. So the two parts to the overall plan is that 5-year plan, which you submit to HUD once every 5 years, no matter what. Like I said, it's a 4-page document. It's pretty easy to fill out once you get into the system. Then you have the annual plan. Now that is submitted, it's supposed to be submitted every year by non-qualified agencies. Qualified agencies in the portal, and again, this is where HUD language makes it confusing. For qualified agencies, do you know what those are? Does anyone have confusion or need to know what a qualified agency is? So qualified agencies are those that are 250 and smaller and not troubled or substandard. So if you are in that category where you're small and you're also not troubled or substandard, you can be considered qualified. Now the goal of that is to make it easier. Congress passed a rule, like it's one of these, the Small Public Housing Authorities Paperwork Reduction Act and all that, to make it easier for you guys. So instead of having this laundry list of requirements, qualified agencies, we're going to have less to do than the full annual plan with all the forms with it. Now this is where some of my discrepancies have come in. So all PHAs on the in-between years had a list of things, but it wasn't like the full list, like in your 5-year year. So on your 5-year year, and we'll have the list of these, so you'll get to see what I'm talking about. On the 5-year year, which is this year, you were supposed to do everything per the policy. But then the portal is not letting you do that. So small PHAs, it's just having you do the civil rights certification. That's all it is. And in the portal, they're basically calling that your annual plan. Even though it's not an annual plan, that's what they're calling it, but it's your civil rights certification. So doesn't match what the regs say, but that's okay. We're just going to go with it, right? You can't do anything about it. That's what's in the portal. So they said that's what we're doing. And I asked them and they said, yep, that's all we have to have. Okay. So what are the different categories for doing your annual plan submission? So they're standard, troubled, high performer, small, housing choice voucher only, and qualified. So the qualified, we know, are those small ones that are not troubled or substandard. So you can see from this list, you might have people that fall into multiple categories. You could be small and a high performer, and you could be qualified. So in those cases, you actually have the choice of which one you want to do. If you fall into multiple categories, you choose which one you want to submit, and that's fine. And in the portal, you'll have the options for the different tabs. So you just choose the right one. You can look at them first and decide which one you want to do.
So from that list, does substandard fall under standard or trouble?
Substandard falls under standard.
Under standard.
Yep. I didn't mean to go forward. I went the wrong way. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. They don't take substandard into account.
Okay.
So for that purpose. Okay, so standard is going to use this 50075 ST. So I always thought, oh, that's ST is standard. It's actually standard and troubled. So it's actually the same form for standard PHAs and troubled PHAs. Identical. So you're going to use that form. Now they used to be online on Post, which came back. I don't know. Yesterday I was like, oh my gosh, Post! I'm so happy. Now not all of the further in links are fully functional yet, but they're working on it. So I did get to Post yesterday. I was so happy. So standard is going to be a PHA that has or manages 250 or more units and or combined more than 550. Designated as standard in FAS or CMAP. So that's going to be your standard ones. Troubled same template, and designated as troubled, either on the FAS or on CMAP, okay? So if you're troubled, you have to use that version. High performers, it's going to be an HP, high performer. It's same form number, but it's HP. And again, you don't have to remember these. The system knows what your scores are. It's going to tell you. So again, the portal is so much easier than so many of our other tools. I don't know. What do you guys think so? Okay. I mean, that's what I think, but. So high performer is if you have, you can have any number of public housing units and also combined that exceed 550 and designated high performer on either FAS and or CMAP. Okay, so this is one of the little errors that I caught that I asked about because this makes no sense to me. The definition of small says that a small PHA is one that is 1 to 249 and any number of vouchers where the total combined does exceed. That's what the actual form says if you read it. I changed the slide, which is why I highlighted it, because to me it's an obvious typo, like somewhere along the line, and I looked back to 2015 and it was on the forms in 2015, so who knows when they screwed this up, and I don't know why I'm the only person who's caught this and asked the question, but that's just who I am, I guess. So I asked them and they said, that's the definition, here it is. I'm like, anyway, so pretty sure that the only option it's going to give you is if you're 1 to 249 and does not exceed 550. That would be the only time you would be offered that small. But again, I have the little flag there that says if you are small and a high performer, you can choose which one you want to use. So you can use either one. Voucher only. Do we have any voucher only folks in here? Okay, so the voucher only, it's going to be, again, it's a separate, same form number, but it's got the HCV at the end, and it's for ones that have more than 550 HCVs. So you would have, if you were less than 550 and HCV only, you would be small. Can't manage public housing at all, and you can't be troubled in the most recent. But again, same thing as the small. If you're HCV only and you're also a high performer, you can choose. So qualified PHAs, they are not required to submit annual plans except in the 5-year year, which is this year. And they can't be designated as trouble, and they have to have fewer than 550. I thought it was 250, but yeah, I guess it's 550. So qualified, you less than 550. And so if you are qualified, then you have a little bit less requirements, and it's generally just that your annual plan, instead of being the whole big thing you have to do, is just going to be that civil rights certification, and that's all we're calling the annual plan in the system. Okay, so what are some of the additional requirements that you have to submit? And this is civil rights certification is annual, regardless of category. There's different forms for the civil rights certification for the HCV standard and high performers versus the small, and you can see them all listed here. So all the different forms are there, but again, the portal is going to give it to you. It's there. So you don't have to know, you don't have to think about it, you literally click the button. At the end, we're going to go to the portal. I can't show you a demo like is it FMD that does this? The public housing portal people who do the training. If you haven't been to any of their trainings, I think they're fantastic. So definitely, if you see those come up, if you have questions about this, definitely attend those trainings, because they have the ability to actually log in from your perspective and show you exactly where you click. I can't do that, unfortunately, but we can look around a little bit and I'll show you some of the key tips and tricks that they have. So there's also this certification of consistency with consolidation plan. Now this would not be required in the portal now for anyone who's qualified. Even though I say here that qualified have to do it in the 5-year plan year, they didn't ask for it this year for you guys that are qualified. So if you're not qualified, you would do it this year anyway. Now this is something that your local officials have to sign. And they're basically saying that your plan is consistent with whatever the community's consolidated plan is. Now, if you happen to be a PHA that belongs to more than one jurisdiction in some way, whether it's 2 cities or a city and a county, if there's multiple officials responsible, then you have to get them both or all to sign the form. Now, they showed a trick on the training because the thing is when you print these forms out of the portal, they're given identification numbers on the form. And so you have to have the same ID number if you have multiple people sign it. So the way you do it, and we'll kind of look at it when we get in there if I can try to show you, but there's a way where you're entering the person's name, the mayor or whatever it is. You enter their name and then you print the form. You can reset the information. So you don't have to create a new form. You basically go in and just clear out the info that you put the first time and put a second name and their title and then print it again. And then you'll see that the form identification number is the same. So if you have questions about that, if you run into issues with that, definitely reach out to your portfolio manager or or you can email the public housing portal box. Did you have a question?
So we ran into an issue in Kansas, and some of the people in here have been on the email. Some people in the Kansas City office are saying mayor, or some people are saying board chair, some people are saying a staff person from KHRC, which is our Kansas Housing Agency. Who is the person?
So for this particular form, this should be the person who appoints your board.
So the mayor or someone from the city council.
Right, that should be who this particular form is. Now, like in Oklahoma, I know, and Kimberly's not in here, I know she had something, I think it was for the environmental reviews that they do statewide, and she had something that she got from the state and printed, and she just always does it at the same time. So she had asked me about that, and I said, no, that's completely different. So, but this should be the person who's appointing your board, is the way that you would look at that. Other questions? Yeah.
So it says that it's located in more than one jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So if you cover a county,
Yeah.
is it the county official or is it the county and every city official that's in that county?
So again, it's who appoints you. So in that particular circumstance, I would imagine it's probably like the county commissioner who appointed the board.
Well, they are our board.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
vote for the county.
Okay.
Like, I'm the
Yes.
county.
100%. It'd be your county commissioner then. Yep. Okay. Okay. So, additional submission requirements. So resident advisory board comments. So as part of this process, you'll see in the timeline, your plan has to be posted for the public and for your tenants to be able to review and whatnot. And your resident advisory board has to look at it. These are all parts of this process. So if the resident advisory board has comments on your plan, you must submit it. It's just a part of the form. And so if they have no comments, you just check the box no. So again, it makes it sound like there's a lot. It's actually not a lot. So it's just if they do have comments, you have to annotate them. And if they have certain recommendations or have questions, you have to include a synopsis of the discussion and the ultimate decision and how you came to that decision, or how the board came to that decision. But that's what's going to get included there. And you may not have it. So this portion is challenged elements. So what challenged elements is kind of the same thing. Once you make it public, members of the public and or your tenants can challenge what's in your plan. So if you have challenges to your plan, you have to annotate those. I would imagine in most cases, these are probably all no's for most of you. It may come up from time to time, but most of the time it's just going to be a simple no, check the box and be done. If there is a challenge, you just have to detail what was the challenge, what did you do, what actions did you take, and what were the final decisions that were made. Statement of capital improvements need. They give some language here on how to include that so that you're meeting the compliance, or, it's basically saying that you see the HUD form from your 5-year action plan that was approved on whatever date, because then it's saying, hey, this plan is implementing this plan. That is our action plan, and it's all planning on the same thing. And so if you use a statement like that, or pretty close to that, you're going to be fine. Let's see. RAD. So if any of you are undergoing RAD, you're going to have to include what your RAD plans are and the details for those. So the guidelines may change over time. And so the recommendation is, if you are undergoing RAD, check with the latest RAD guidelines to find out what you need to include in this section, if it applies to you. Okay, so these are the charts I made, even though, like I said, just do what's in the portal. It's going to make your life so much easier. But I broke it down the way that it seemed to make sense to me. If we were doing this just on our own on paper, these are what, per the regs, it says you would submit and when. And so I just have these lists, and you can go through them. The 5-year plan is the first form listed. The annual plan is the second form listed, and you can see the form numbers differ for the annual plans based on what their category is. The civil rights certification is there, and that should be done every year. And then the other things are the compliance and whatnot. Everyone has to do those, it says, every year except for the qualified. And then the last two are those RAB comments from the board, the resident advisory board, and then the challenge elements. So the bottom two are optional only if it's needed based on the circumstances. Same for small and HCV. Everything's, it's the same kind of across the board, with the exception of once we get to qualified, the civil rights certification is still every year, and that's what we're going to call your annual plan. And then everything else is every 5 years, and or only if the board, if there's any challenges or comments. Questions about that? And again, I have not emailed this to Hattie, but I will today, and so she should be able to add it so you can refer to it. So the qualified PHA list. Now, I will admit that this link and this PowerPoint slide was made before the whole website craziness. So I hope this link works. But that was the link of where you would go to find out the qualified PHAs. So if it doesn't work, we'll just have to, you can reach out to your field office and we should be able to get you the most current list. But this is the schedule of when you would find out if you're on the qualified list or not. So if you think you're supposed to be on it and you're not, the system's probably not going to let you use qualified at that point. So I don't know if there's an appeal process or not. You'd have to probably reach out to the field office director or the public housing director. But this is the kind of timeline, and I know it's small, so you may not be able to see it fully here, but we've got it, they base it off of fiscal year start, even though almost everything else we do is on fiscal year end. But this is based on fiscal year start, so we've got our January ones, our April ones, July ones, and October ones. And so, again, let's see. The first two groups should be done, right? Like this, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it the wrong way.
The 1-1s and the 4-1s should be.
Yeah, the 4-1, those should all be done. These with the 7-1s should be just about done, because you should be at that last step. And
Mine was due the 17th.
Yeah, and so if you're not done, you kind of want to get on it because you're kind of behind the 8 ball if you're a 7-1. Now for the 10 ones, you can see that you've got a little bit of time, but this is when you should be starting to draft the plan right now, okay? And so that's just, it's not a specific timeline, but it gives you a general, yeah.
One thing, so like, we're in that, so that's pretty much, we're in the first column, but the only thing you gotta be careful with is your board meeting too, because like our board meeting is the last, fourth Thursday each month, so the October one's too late, so we have to have it in by September, so just take in mind your board meeting dates too.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point for sure.
All this stuff has to be done when you have that board meeting,
Yep.
except submitting it to HUD.
Yep. Yeah, so it's definitely a lot of things to think about. Like I said, we probably should have thought about doing this training last year because it doesn't help for sure the people in the first 2 categories, and we're late for the 3rd one. And but we have it now, and maybe 4 years from now we'll plan better.
Just rejected 3 or 4 times, that's okay.
Well, there's a slide on that. So, field office review. So, basically, when we're looking at it from our perspective, what are we looking for? We're looking for 3 things: completeness, consistency, and compliance. Those are the statutorily required things. And especially right now, the only thing HUD is concerned about is the statutorily required things. That's like our catchphrase right now, right? So, so completeness, consistency, and compliance. We are supposed to review these within 75 days. The example I'm going to show, which is yours, you're going to see we haven't done that, so we'll get on that.
We have to approve after 25 days.
Yeah, it is supposed to be automatic. It's not. It's not in the portal though, because I do know that that's what it says. But the portal, I was looking at yours today. It doesn't show approved. It just shows submitted. So, but yes, you are right. So let's see. Yeah, I know. So if it meets those 3 statutory requirements, we're going to approve it. But if it doesn't meet one or any of them, then we're going to have to kick it back. And that bottom line, we can kick it back as many times as we need to before we approve it. So, but yeah, previously it was considered automatically approved after 75 days. It does not look like the portal is doing that, so I don't know if that's something that they're going to change or not. But then public availability, you do have an obligation to make your plan available to the public. So if you are a larger property and have multiple developments and each development has its own office, every office has to have a copy of the plan available. So you need to make sure that if someone comes in and wants to review the plan, that they can do it. And all related documents too. And if you have a website, which I know a lot of small PHAs don't, but the bigger ones, it is recommended that you put it on your website if you have one. Yeah.
Made available publicly, does it say anywhere it has to be published? Not your plan, but published that it is available?
I don't think so.
We always publish it in the newspaper.
Yeah.
That's the public hearing.
That's the public.
Yeah, I think the public hearing covers that.
Once it's available,
Well,
once it's
that's all
approved and available,
Same,
then.
yeah.
Yeah.
For the public hearing and all.
Oh, so for public
Yeah, the
hearing,
public hearing has
Yeah.
yeah, it has to
But
be.
yeah, 'cause I was-
45 days in advance of the
Yeah,
hearing.
because I was, and I don't know what, it was a meeting I was at one time, and they said that it's like if you, like, put in your newsletter that it's available, that you didn't have to publish it in the newspaper.
So I just.
Oh, the plan itself does not have to be published in
No,
it.
her notice.
Even your public
So I
hearing.
just went
Oh.
to that last year, and it has to be published because it has to be made available to the public, not just your residents. So you have to publish it.
I was just put something in the paper that said it's available for review.
Well, that was something
at
we
the
got
office,
into,
but
and
I don't
so, how do you, so what I asked was, the way we typically get things out in our local community is We have a trading post that's on, over the radio, an hour of the morning, every morning, Monday through Friday. Or we have a Facebook page that's like the local HAPs, you know, and so I asked if this newspaper, because they've moved out once before and now they've come back, so if we ever get to the point we don't have the newspaper, what is our option? And she said, I just have to be able to prove that I have made it public to the citizens. So like.
Even a posting at the city hall.
Posting at City Hall. So the post office, somewhere where your local citizens, not just your residents, go.
Okay, so let's take a look at the portal. And if you're not super familiar with this yet, that's okay. What you have up here is probably a little different than mine because like this is HUD only, but there are training videos. There is a training guide, a user guide, which is super helpful. Like I said, I really am impressed by the product that this team has put together, both the training resources as well as their virtual trainings. I think they do a really, really fantastic job. So part of the way that the portal works, at least from my perspective, because we see so many, you know, we actually can see nationwide PHAs, is a little cumbersome, but I don't think you guys are going to run into that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at PHA reports and submissions. And I am going to go, and I don't know if this is how you guys get there or not, but if we go to the 5-year plan, and I'm going to pick on Oklahoma City because we boo-booed and didn't do them, but they turned it in on time, and it's here. So when we get here, you can see at the top, it's got like, you can look at the whole list if there had been prior. Obviously, this is the first year we've done this in here, but if there were any prior ones, they would be in here as well. But you can see all of the categories. Like you could actually, without even logging into it, kind of look and see what the different sections, what the comments are, which I don't know, maybe that's helpful for someone. I don't know. But to look at the whole thing, I'm going to click on the pencil. And now this is where you can see at the top the forms. And so like if you have things to do, it's going to be up here somewhere in the top where you're going to click on it and you can generate things there. So if you had to do this form, you would click on it, it pops it up, and
So what your PHA needs to do is gonna be.
what you have to do is going to be there.
And that's all you have to do.
Yep. And it's, like I said, to me, I don't know. I don't have to do it. You guys have to do it. I don't. It looks like it's not really that complex, like once you actually get in here. So they've got the different fields. You just kind of go through and fill out the required sections. It has places where you can add, delete, or view. So, you know, I assume that means that things like that are going to probably even carry over year to year. Fingers crossed. I don't know. I mean, it seems like it might. And then if you needed to edit it, then we get to the other documents and certification requirements. You can add or delete. And the resident advisory board comments. So it looks like they actually had resident advisory board comments. And then so part of what they did was, you can see they said see attached minutes of the meeting. And that's going to be attached somehow to the form. And here's the certification. That form there, we'll look at it in a minute, but it's there as well. Let's see. But you just go through and fill out what you can fill out. And here's the additional documentation. So we can bring this up, and it should bring us up a list of documents where we can, I guess we can't see it, but this is where we can add them. So, oh, is it the drop? Oh, I gotcha. See, I don't know. But if we wanted to look at them, we can look at them. So like admin plan, and it's just going to bring it up. Hopefully. My computer.
If you wanted to upload it. So At the
Oh.
bottom.
Go down on the screen. Yeah.
That's
Oh, well, okay.
if
See.
you want to add something new.
Got it. Okay, so yeah, if I wanted to download it, which our system makes it download to the computer, I'm not going to do that. But if we wanted to look at them, they would all be here.
If you added the whole plan or just.
And now, let's see, close and return. We're going to close and return that. So let's look at this one. So this is the state and local official. So now, I don't know if it's going to show here. I may have to look at this version of it. So I'm going to click this and open it, I hope. Okay. Maybe I actually want to return to document management. I think I wanted to open it the other way. I was thinking I could look at this like, I didn't think about the fact that I don't have you guys as view. So I'll just download. We'll look at these two. So save. Because there's a couple ways for some of these forms. Now, the city officials, obviously, that form, or the county, whoever the local official is, you're not going to be able to have them signed digitally. But there's the ones that the board chair signs on the, I think it's on the annual plan, that you can have them signed digitally. They have to have the right roles in secure systems. And so if you can do that, I would do that. Okay, so I can already tell you right now that if we have it, I don't know if we're just going to prove this because it's really late, but
We are.
but and it's, I don't know if it's this one. There's a different form. I think there's a different version, and like I said, now going forward. So if you're doing this right now for yourself, you're going to print the form, not like they have. It looks like this might have been like an old version from online, right, that they had saved and printed and used. Now you're going to print the form from the portal. There's a blank form in the portal. And this is where I was talking about, it's going to, at the bottom, give you, it's like a something ID. I can't remember the words for it, but there's going to be a code, and it's affiliated with that specific form. Form ID, it might be that, yeah. And so for that, if you had, like I said, most of you probably don't have two local officials. But if you did, that would be the key thing, is it has to match on both of them. And so when you go to print it in the portal, it's actually going to give you the chance to enter the name and the title and all that stuff. And then you print the form, you take it to them, and get it back. Actually, let's see. I think I have one we can look at.
You should be able to open it, probably not one of these folders, but in there, and just hit print and scroll, and it should show you that number on the bottom.
Oh, and here's where you can see the info, though. So,
Yeah.
number one, electronic signature is false because the city official doesn't have access. They're not going to be able to sign it electronically. So that should say false. Then, number two, the name and the title. So you can do that, and then at the top, I think, is where you print. My key touchpad goes backwards from what I'm used to, so I sometimes go the wrong way. So if I click on this, it's going to bring it up. This is the digital version. So like this is what we would have wanted you to do, and then you can see, here's the form ID. Form ID 1490 right there. And then that's going to be the form you're going to update back. But it's got their name, it's got their information, and then once you get them to sign it, then you can come back and do the digital upload.
If you do that digital upload and that form ID doesn't match,
It's supposed to. I don't know if it gives you an error right away, but I know that we're supposed to kick it back. They're supposed to match. I'm not sure if it's automatic or not.
That's what I might have got, because.
It didn't
that
match.
person, it didn't match,
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out what was wrong.
Yep.
I kept doing it.
Kept doing the same
Every time you create a new one,
the same thing over and over.
Right.
That your PM was happy, huh?
Okay, let's look at an annual plan, because I think, isn't the annual plan the one that the board chair can sign digitally?
Yes.
Okay.
You also have that form, and I don't even know this because I almost forget. And I know larger communities probably have so many, I don't know, that your plan is in compliance or in conjunction with what we use the state. So we had to have the person from the Oklahoma Department of Commerce.
Has to be Von Clark. It's in the Von
Well,
Clark
that's
every
what I was
year.
asking about. Yeah,
Mm.
and so thank goodness they were very quick in getting that back to me because I
Mm.
and but realized at the last
Because
minute.
we're used to a certain form and then they.
Yeah.
We changed that
Yeah.
form to go and get those government officials to re-sign that form.
Yeah, small towns it's easy, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, well, we did it for Cushing, so
yeah,
hopefully we're prepared for Stillwaters.
right. But they were very quick.
I'm gonna pick on Kimberly because she just did hers last week and she's not here. So let's see. So this is her annual plan. So let's click on the pencil. And she's a qualified PHA, and even though the regs say that, okay, you're supposed to actually do a couple more of these things on your 5-year year only, like on the non-5-year years, yeah, 100% all you do is your civil rights. Even though the regs say that, that's all they're making her do, right? So if that's all they're making you do, that's all, I mean, I'm not trying to like break the wheel. I'm just trying to say maybe we should fix our regs. I don't know, that's just me. But, so the civil rights form is there. And if we scroll down, we can see if there were any documents or any comments or anything, and there's nothing there. So we'll go and we'll open the civil rights form. And basically that's literally the only thing that becomes her plan. So we'll look down. The signature is her and the board chair. And let's look at it. So they did not do electronic signature. So that's the one thing. If you don't want to do electronic signature, that's fine, but you have to use the form from the portal. Just remember, you have to use the form from the portal, and then the one that you download has to be the one that you upload with that same ID, okay? So let's look at it. Okay. So it's been created, here's the certification, it's got all their info, and now you can see that they both signed it, and here's our form ID from where she downloaded it. So it's really easy to do both ways. I mean, if you have a board chair that's capable, which I know that sometimes they're not tech savvy, I get that, but if you have one that is, or if you're enough capable to bring them in and say, hey, let's just sit down and do this together, just sit down and do it together, because then it even makes it easier for you. But the key on that, whether you're doing a digital signature, is you have to remember, because some people will come, they're like, we can't sign this, we can't upload, we can't do this, we can't do that. Double check your electronic signature, because if it says electronic signature true, it's not going to give you the option to upload a document. You're not going to have this link to be able to submit. So you have to change that to false in order to be able to attach the document. Does that make sense? So again, the portal is pretty intuitive, so just do what it says. And you shouldn't have any problems. Like I said, the public housing portal folks are really, really good about answering questions, and their user guides are really great too. So use those tools. When things like this come up for the first time, when we haven't done it before, they're going to be doing a ton of training on it. So get on those trainings because they are really helpful, I think.
They just did it.
Yeah, they just did one.
Just did one.
Yep. So, and they've been doing that as different things, like they did one on waitlist
They were
when,
saying something about all of them weren't online right yet. So we're having some trouble getting them
yeah.
online, but I don't know. If
Yeah, and so if you run into problems, email them, and they are super quick to get back to you with a resolution. Questions? Thoughts? Yeah.
Okay, this is about, not about 5-year, but about annual plans.
Okay.
So I do this for 6 housing authorities.
Okay.
So all my 25s are in, but I'm needing to start 26s and I'm already behind. 26 isn't available as a drop-down year. And I'm behind on 2 housing authorities to get my annuals for my RABs and my notices and everything. So I don't know what I should do because it wasn't available. Now I haven't checked it this week.
It's probably not yet, I wouldn't think, but
The
the,
team usually guides what opens in the portal.
Okay.
And so if it's not open in the portal for whatever reason, it's not ready for you.
It's just not ready.
yeah, and I would, and they're not gonna consider you late
Okay.
if they don't have it ready. Now, the RABs that we were looking for were part of the 5-year plan though, which that you shouldn't even have to deal with. Is there resident advisory stuff on the annual? There shouldn't be on the annual. So, yeah, that stuff,
Yeah, the RAB has to be part of your annual plan too.
is it an,
Really?
So, yeah.
They have to be a part of the whole part of the process.
I thought it was just when you sign that. Most of them we see are just the civil rights certification.
I get confused.
So we have to do an annual plan every year.
Right, and see, I get confused between the resident advisory board and the council, because like they have two,
It's the same, but yeah.
yeah, right, but there's like 2 different, like one is not required and one is required, but I thought it was only 5-year plan, but again, I'm not a portfolio manager, so that's not exactly my world, so I'm learning from you, as you guys are learning from us too. So we do what we can. But yeah, if it's not in the portal, there's nothing you can do about that. So you just have to kind of keep an eye on it. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but you may or may not have noticed a lack of email communication from HUD because they have told us no mass emails. So currently. So I don't know when that will stop, but so that it leaves a dearth of we're lacking all this information, but it's for us too. So it's not just you, it's us too. But generally I would hope that as something came open, they would normally send an email to say, hey, fiscal year, yeah. Are they all on the same cycle?
No.
I don't know if that's good or bad. Having to do 6.
It's tough doing 6, but it's better than not all of them.
At the
Like, I
same
have
time.
3 at the same time, then 2, then 1.
Okay.
All 6 days.
Wow.
But now I'm behind on 2 because 26 isn't available yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're always in there.
Always.
So see, you're going to be the pro, and you can be teaching this class.
It's a year too. So,
Okay, what else? Even this, anything else? I mean, what about the advisory board?
She's like, what is it?
So, okay, I'll bring up, let's see. I can't remember if what I have in the,
It's basically like your resident council, so if you have, like, we're big enough where we have elections, but if you're not big enough, then you can appoint people to it, and then you should have, 3 or 4 times a year you meet and talk about stuff going on with the housing authority, and then they have to be part of the annual plan process. And
okay,
if they have comments, you're supposed to incorporate that into your plan or explain why you did it.
there it is. We, a while back, made up a,
basically, you pick a day.
You have like,
I mean, you have.
I have a resident comment here, that needs to be resident advisory board.
You have to notify them.
there it goes, finally.
And then you notify your residents when you're gonna have it.
thousands and thousands
Most of the
of
time, no,
And
it's
you'll
like
have
3 or 4, you have to have all the
Yeah.
documents.
I mean, we've had them
available for them to
as many as 5
review.
shows. We've had
Know what
35
your plan
shows.
is for that.
Why is my,
I have usually
I
the
can't
same
get
people
anything to come
that
up
will show up every year.
I sort of say, there's like
Cookies
nothing.
eliminated.
I've been trying to communicate with the contractor and I can't.
I mean, I've got 5G right now. I don't know.
I'll pay for it out of
Okay, let's see, do I have it somewhere else that I can
It
pull
used to be
it?
on the website till they took it all away.
Well, we had made a new executive director's guidebook, and we have like definitions of what the different things are, and that's what I wanted to refer back to.
And all the one that comes from scattered sites, but I don't have one that's all section. And I've got 600 people to choose from.
That one worked.
Could it be that her verbiage is just different? She says she has a tenant council.
So, yes and no. There are two different things. One is required, one is not required.
She needs to change the name of her group.
Or use it for both.
Yeah, I mean, the one that is, I want to say it's like the count. I don't want to say it because it's not my lane.
Is it, okay, so is
I don't want to be wrong.
council, because you have multiple
Sites.
programs?
Yeah, or sites, yeah.
Well, because the resident board, I have 7 sites. I have a resident board. I've never heard of a tenant council. So is that maybe a
Here.
program?
City council, they just normally like have, each site has their own representatives and council, and then the leaders of those are normally on the resident advisory board.
Oh,
or council.
okay.
But, I mean, some small houses where you don't have that, so you just have to appoint people. But like, if you have multiple sites, you should get somebody like, when I was in Stillwater, we had somebody that was from the public housing, couple from public housing, so, plus, one that lived at a scoured site where somebody lives in the high rise. And then we have somebody, we always try to get somebody from the Section 8 program, so you have a representative from each area.
So fortunately, we're all.
Is it gonna be role of the resident? or something?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where it was because I thought there was like a whole. Yeah, I saw the role of the resident. Maybe that's where we put it.
There's
Right there.
there.
Okay, yeah, so we encourage participation through duly elected resident councils. The resident council is to improve quality of life, and the ED is expected to encourage and support resident involvement, including the PHA plan process. The resident advisory board, which is different from a resident council, is vital, and it's a group of residents tasked with advising the PHA on annual, okay, so it was annual, and 5-year plans or changes to the PHA, such as Project AMP conversions.
So while we're talking about this.
Yeah.
I don't have a resident council. I did good to get a resident board.
So you don't have to. You don't have to.
Have that one, right?
No, the resident council is highly encouraged because it's including residents and like having something as simple as having a resident board member is part of that, but that's not required. The resident advisory board is required.
So I just wanted to be
Yeah.
clear on that.
But what if you can't, you can't make your residents do anything. So if they won't do it in a small town, then what do you? Because I know you can say, I don't have a resident council.
Right.
But how are you going to, what are you going to say?
That's a good question.
Join, invite them, and then we have the meeting,
You can invite them
and
and-
nobody shows up.
Yeah.
If I have food there, they're not coming.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's right. But then that has to come out of your pocket, and they either show up or they don't. That's all you have to do. Would it be separate from the board?
Right.
We attach that, we attach this as the, but I had no comment, we attach that every single.
Well, we assist everything. And then we put But that's for the resident council, but she said the resident council is 60 minutes, I don't require.
Okay, Kinsley just asked.
So I'm in the
Yeah, we use it for both.
How do you just Kinsley? That girl told me that they told her she needs to at least have.
Hold on, please.
Yeah. Let's. What are you saying?
So HUD was just at Kinsley.
Okay.
And the girl from Kinsley had emailed me and asked if I had a flyer that I put up, and I said no, because I don't have an advisory board.
she said, well, we don't either, but she said they told us we have to at least put up flyers and advertise it to make it look like you're at least making the attempt to get one.
Yeah,
As
and
long as you do that, I will tell y'all, it's not easy to
I'm
get
sure.
an active board. But-
Yeah.
But I do have one now finalized.
Rachel, is this guide that you're showing here available?
I can email it to you with the caveat that this was made for the Southwest Network and approved by the Southwest Network. So anyone in Oklahoma, this is approved for us. And I can send you the Oklahoma version, and or Texas. But Kansas, I could give you a general, but
Understood.
so email my work email, which is not there, it's on the PowerPoint slide. And just let me know you want the executive director's guide. And I will probably not until next week respond to you, which I may not get the email till next week because you guys are busy too. But yeah, my email is there. Is that big enough? Let's see if we can.
Van Slyke.
Yeah, and it's not easy, I know.
Isn't it just your first, last name? Or?
No, we got a middle initial, and I don't know, let's see. Can I? Oh! There we go. Is that better?
Yes.
I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work.
You can even zoom in on